All right. Wonderful. It looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly LinkedIn Live, almost every week, weekly LinkedIn Live uh, Career Alchemy broadcast, starring me, Lori Swanson, CEO of Inspire Tech and the founder of Career Alchemy Academy. Um, and today, what I want to talk to you about is what I call 5 steps to Monte Carlo your career. And again, these ideas generally come out of either something I've read or coaching conversations. And in this case, it was a coaching conversation. So working with a client who is a leader in investment operations. And just kind of on, casually on the side, she said that she was going to be building a Monte Carlo model for an analysis on a portfolio. And she said it, and I was immediately back in finance class at the University of Texas. And I'm like, I remember that. I remember the Monte Carlo, not all the details, but I remember being intrigued by it back then. And so after the call was done, I of course had to go down the rabbit hole of like Monte Carlo technique or analysis, what is this all about? And as I was investigating it, it had me immediately wanting to see if there was a way to use this tool that's generally within finance and investment. That's generally where you'd see it used. And I thought, how can we apply this to a career? Like a career transition or a job search or exploring next steps in your career, all the things that I support my coaching clients with. And so, because one of the things that I realize is that often when, clients enter a job search, they're thinking about or even elevating their career inside of their organization, especially if it's a large global one that might have some different pathways for them. They first look at the safe bet. What's what's the role that makes the most sense for me, or the role that um, where I can hit the ground running, so I don't have necessarily I can minimize failure and I can be seen as valuable and a contributing member of the team quickly. That's the safe bet. I'm going to take that job. But there's also then the logic move, right? That's the one where you're looking at what makes sense for you from a salary perspective or location commute perspective, or even the next logical. Like if you were to ask all your friends who, people who basically know your career, and you were going to say, I'm thinking about something different. 9 out of 10 of them are going to give you whatever that next logical step is, because they think that's the way to go with your career, which isn't true, by the way, necessarily. It might be, but we're going to even look at in the Monte Carlo, my sort of Monte Carlo inspired analysis. We're gonna push back on the safe bet and the logic move, and we're gonna see what um, other possibilities might be available to us. So my version of a Monte Carlo analysis has 5 steps, and we're going to push beyond the safe bet or the logic move, and we're going to explore a whole slew of possibilities, and then go into the probabilities, which is the real Monte Carlo part of the process. Because I think most people imagine one future for themselves, but with what we're thinking about with this Monte Carlo inspired analysis is, and as alchemists in general, we are intentionally exploring many. So 5 steps, like I said. So the first step, and I'm almost always start here, is you need to have a loosely held vision. And so it doesn't have to be all thought out. It doesn't have to be specific. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be short. It doesn't, it doesn't have any real, but it has to be from the heart, and you're thinking about things like, what gifts and abilities and skills do I want to continue to use in whatever this next possible career move might be. How do you want to make an impact? What lights you up? What energizes you? All of these things will be part of of this kind of loosely held vision. So to give you an example, and this was literally a brain dump. Um, this is what I wrote for my loosely held vision. I desire a career that gives me creative freedom, financial abundance, meaningful work, energy at the end of the day, time for friends and family, and fun adventures. Those are all things that are really important to me, right? In my career, I am fulfilled because a vision, we sometimes like to talk in the present tense. I am fulfilled when I'm helping women trust themselves, navigate meaningful work, build confidence, create authentic connections, and bring more joy into their lives. That's when I feel the most fulfilled in my work. I like bringing in a spirit-centered approach. If you've worked with me, I'll pull out an oracle card. I'll suggest looking for signs or asking for signs. I don't ignore coincidences, and I bring that into my work. I like hosting events. I'm organized. I like coaching with women in technology and product, and women building coaching and consulting businesses. That's really what gets my juices flowing. I enjoy speaking and doing workshops. I love creating fun and unique ways to connect to a career path and to play. I love creating products for my business, different things. I enjoy writing a lot. I'm at my best when I follow my mission, which is to trust life unconditionally. You've probably heard me talk about this. Trust life unconditionally, spread love in all its highest forms, and have fun. I'm at my best when that's kind of, a part of, that trusting life unconditionally is just like, it might feel scary right now, but I trust life. I trust in this, my higher self being there and holding me, and guiding me and supporting me, and that I'm never alone, right? And then spreading love in all its highest forms, being generous, being compassionate, being thoughtful, being kind. These are just things I want to embody and share. And then having fun. What makes me laugh? What can I do to bring more laughter into my life? What can I do to bring enjoyment and delight and awe and wonder? All of those things. So I didn't write all of that. I'm just telling you, but that's what I meant by my mission statement. And the impact I would love to make is that I want to make a difference in changing work culture so it works for everyone. So I want to move past and away from the current patriarchal framework to a more equitable, creative, and sustaining and fun way of work. So that's my loosely held vision, which, you know, like I said, it's a brain dump. I just kept writing and just putting stuff in there, and I didn't overthink it. I just had fun with it. And I took all of that and I put it into AI. So that's step two, is we turn to tech and we ask AI to help us expand the possibility spaces. What are, besides the safe and logical, include the safe and logical career paths, but then also look at some, you know, nonsensical options, adjacent possibilities, entrepreneurial pursuits, unconventional ideas, emerging roles. That's a really important one, an emerging role, right? And so I put those in there with that, asking, with that prompt, and asked it to help build out possible career path outcomes. And we'll take those career path outcomes and we bring them into step three. But I received ideas like career alchemy founder. I'm like, duh, I already am that, right? So that's very obvious. Leadership coach for women in tech and product. I'm like, well, I actually just wrote that down. But yes, that's true, AI. But then it came back with career columnist. And I thought, I've never really, I mean, I've occasionally written articles for the newspaper, but columnists. And then I thought, gosh, I already write a blog every week. What if I could just repurpose it and get paid by a newspaper to, not a huge heavy workload for me, right? Because I'm already writing it anyways. So that got me sparked. And the other one that I thought was, this must be an emerging role, was a fractional chief inspiration officer. I'm like, heck yeah, that sounds amazing. I don't even know what that job description would look like, but that could be, maybe AI does have a little, glimpse into the future, and is like, you would make a great chief inspirational officer doing fractional work, so that I have that flexibility, right? So I love that it picked up on that. So that's step two. So I got a list. I asked for 25 potential, both sensical and nonsensical ideas, and I listed those all out. And I actually did a blog about sensical and nonsensical before. You can find it out on the website. But and I remember we did something similar, but this, from here, it'll probably be a lot different. So I took and we take those 25 options and we move to step 3, where we're continuing to use AI, but now we're bringing in the Monte Carlo technique to kind of simulate the future. So you don't have to take all 25, you can if you want, but I took like 3 of these. And I just, put one in there and asked AI to imagine a career path over the next 5 years and respond to these questions. So I said, with this, fractional chief inspirational officer, imagine the next 5 years, what will that look like? So how are, several plausible ways that could unfold? Consider different market conditions, and that's, with Monte Carlo analysis, you're asking it to say, not just under today's conditions. You're like, what are a whole bunch of different potential things? Will we be at war? Will we not be at war? Will we have inflation? Will we not have inflation? So you're looking at all these potential market conditions, and then figuring out, well, to be a fractional chief inspirational officer, if we have all these, negative market conditions, that might not be the highest probability of success, right? So that's what I was trying to get at, just for fun. But you're considering also, what are the learning opportunities in this? Because I like to learn and grow. Or you could see the compensation path for those roles. Maybe you can ask it about the work-life balance. How will that fit in? What is the probability of that? And what are like future optionalities? Like, where could this maybe take other possibilities? Like, if I go down this path and I start to grow here, is that like a dead end? Or are there other places I could go with that? And which ones appear the most likely, right? Which uncertainties matter most, perhaps? And so it came back with some percentages, and it said, like, my number one thing is to be a coach. It's 35%, like the most, in response to compensation and with shifting market conditions and all of that. This one is a good, solid response. Then I had 2 that were tied as far as the probability, and that was related to the chief inspirational officer, and also creating a movement, which I thought was a lot of fun, and being a corporate culture catalyst. So creating this movement, and that's, I think, around this idea of me really wanting to dismantle the way work was originally built in corporate America, and kind of dismantle all of that and rebuild in a way, again, that works for all of us. And so that movement, they gave it a 20% chance of taking off. And so it gave me back these probabilities. And then in step 4, we're going to look for patterns and alignment. So we've, had this loose vision, and then we created this wide landscape of possibilities, and then we attach some probabilities to it. And then from there, we want to look for patterns and alignment tuning into our inner wisdom. So all the data and all the AI fun stuff that it can feed you doesn't really matter if the thing they say makes the most sense for you, of the nonsensical even, it doesn't get you excited and light you up, right? And so um, you will look at all of this information and you just ask yourself, with all these probabilities spelled out, with all of these options that I'm looking at, all these different pathways, which ones feel, um, which of these potential futures feel the most aligned for me? And then you're going to build off of that in step 5. You're going to take the top 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever rises to the top, and then you need to take action on it. We don't want to stay in this what I call stage 2 dreaming and scheming about things. I get that out from Martha Beck. She teaches us about these different changes of uh, like different squares of change, different changing, the pathway of change. And I talk about it also in career transition. I call that the contemplation stage of a career. We don't want to stay in contemplation. We have to move to discovery. And the discovery is about taking action. I think about explorers. They're in Spain, for example, and they're dreaming about hitting the high seas and discovering America. But all they do is sit in the room and draw maps and stuff. They're afraid. They're like, I don't know, is the world flat? I don't know. And where will I get the money? And they just stay in this. They dream and then they talk themselves out of it. And they dream and they talk themselves out of it. And instead of like, well, what if I just ask the Queen Isabel for some money to fund my trip? And if she says yes, then I'll think about, is the world flat after that? And do I care? And so, you have to start to take action. So pick 1 or 2 or 3 of those top possibilities that have you lit up and excited and curious. One of those could be sensical and a couple of them should be nonsensical. And then dive into some research or see if anyone has, like I'm thinking the chief inspiration officer, like maybe Pixar has one of those. And that to me sounds like a great job for me to go after. I'd love to be the chief inspiration officer at Pixar. I'm just putting it out there. Give me a call. That sounds like a blast to me, because you know how much I love film if you follow me, and creativity and fun. So yeah, I need that job. But the finding someone who's maybe already a chief inspiration officer, or whatever one of your, possible paths are, and talking to them, doing more research. So a little bit of exploring, but deeper dive into these, what's out there that already exists. And if there are jobs, maybe apply would be a really good idea. So that is step 5. You need to get started, You've been contemplating and you've been exploring, and now we're going to go out and discover, and that's much more outward focused action. And in case I'm not clear, all of what we're talking about today with this, my Monte Carlo inspired method that we were using to come up with some new ideas. If you're feeling stuck, just try this. It's fun. But I think the thing to know is that this is alchemy. This is alchemy, where we're taking, we're putting things together. We're stirring up that pot, right? We're letting go of things that, the dross that no longer serves us. And we're creating something new, making magic in our careers. And we're going to align our careers with what feels like fun, with what feels authentic, and we're going to bring that. And this is how we will begin to dismantle the patriarchy and rebuild a work culture that works for everyone. Is we're going to be pursuing and using our gifts, skills, and abilities in a way that feels authentic and is aligned and has a little bit of magic dust on there, and is completely fun. And you're leading global teams. Of course you are. You might be doing that, but you're just doing it differently. So the Monte Carlo technique is not about predicting your future, but it's about increasing the probability that you're going to have a future you love. And I'll take that bet any day, any day. So that's what I have to offer today, is just hopefully planting some seeds about um, there are different possibilities out there. And I love that um, emerging, uh, like not even yet, like the chief, I swear to God, there's probably no chief inspirational officer out there yet. I might be the very first one in the world. And wouldn't that be cool? And so, but if you dream it, you can become it. If you know, if it feels aligned, if it feels authentic, and if it feels fun, it's possible for you all. So I hope you have continued to, here in the United States, in Northern Hemisphere, enjoy this summer. It's been full of all kinds of weather. 100% chance of weather. That's what one of my history teachers used to say. We have a 100% chance of weather today, Lori. He was right. Um, we've had a lot of changes in weather. There's in Chicago, there's probably a 100% chance of that too. So from hot to cold, from uh, torrential rain to just blazing heat. So, anyways, enjoy whatever the weather is that you're in, and enjoy exploring. You know, gambling a little bit, and looking at probabilities and possibilities, and considering something new for yourself. And join Career Alchemy Academy. Reach out to me. I'm always happy to get on a call and talk about how what it might look like to work together. And I think that's it for today. Next week we're at a little bit different time. I am going to the Obama Center, so I will. I needed to move my time from Wednesday to Thursday, and so I'm looking forward to that. And you can, if you're signed up for the newsletter, we have the times posted in the newsletter, so you always know what time I'm going live. And you can get alerted, I think, if you sign up for my newsletter. So there you go. Talk to you soon.